Very interesting. Is Russia set to spark World War III? Putin builds huge Arctic military bases just 300 miles from the U.S. Vladimir Putin's imperialist ambitions were laid bare today with announcement that the secretive Russian war machine is planning to build 3 new military bases in the Arctic, just 300 miles from the U.S. mainland. October 27th, today's date. President Vladimir Putin's popularity has gone through the roof since he has started bombing ISIS. Moscow also revealed blueprints for a new army base on the disputed Kuril Islands, some of which are situated less than 20 miles from Japan. Mr. Putin is already flexing his military muscles in Syria with air and sea bases and a bombing campaign that has decimated ISIS strongholds. Just to add a little bit here, the economy of the U.S. has been plummeting for many years now. The false comeback in 2011 has no grounds for it. It is all it's all a government game of money. I'm not going to go in depth on this subject, but Russia used to be very broke, but they're not anymore. Okay, they're doing quite well over there. So that's 2 things to remember. Does Putin have the money and the power? Yes. Russian expansionism has also seen the Crimean Peninsula invaded and annexed. But in a significant ramping up of Russia's military reach, Mr. Putin hopes to taunt U.S. and Japanese officials with outposts in the Arctic and Pacific. And here's a map of them. Here's a picture, of course, and a map where they have Koltony Island, Wrangel Island, and here's the U.S. This is the Arctic area, what's left of it. This is, of course, Russia. There's Cape Schmidt, North Korea is down here, and Kuril Islands over here, and Japan. The plans mean Moscow will have troops, warplanes, and military vehicles stationed in all 4 corners of the Asian continent. It will be seen by both Washington and Beijing as a direct challenge to military supremacy in the region. In the Pacific, a new Russian base on the Kuril Islands is likely to worsen already frayed relations with Tokyo, which lays claim to the southern Kurils, known as Japan as the Northern Territories. Russia seized the islands from Japan at the end of World War II, and the dispute is so acrimonious that Moscow and Tokyo have still not signed a formal peace treaty after the war. In the Arctic, Russia is building or plans to build a series of new military bases on Wrangel Island, Koltony Island, and at Cape Schmidt, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu confirmed. He said Russia planned to completely finish the creation and arming of the entire Arctic grouping by 2018. Mr. Shoigu added, "We're not hiding this from anyone. We have practically finished creating the base in the Novosibirsk archipelago on the island of Koltony. This is a really large base that was never seen during the Soviet times, and it has modern equipment, all of the needed equipment for these boundaries." Again, Russia plans to finish the bases by 2018. Mr. Putin has promised not to militarize the Arctic, but officials have made it clear that Russia will take steps to ensure it remains well defended in the region. Cape Schmidt, or Mais Schmidda as the nearest town is known in Russia, or Russian, boasts a population of just few hundred, but crucially it is just 320 miles from Point Hope in Alaska. Moscow hopes placing a military base so close to American shores would give Russia the edge in any conflict with the U.S. Wrangel Island, another proposed military base, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and hosts a nature reserve. It is also thought to have been the last place on Earth where mammoths survive. Russia has conducted a number of military drills in the Arctic this year, and Moscow plans to create a network of naval facilities in the region for submarines and warships as part of the country's military strategy through 2020. Russia already operates military bases across Eastern Europe and Central Asia, including Georgia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Vietnam. Moscow also uses a naval base in Syria and an air base in Latakia, where 600 Russian Marines provide security. It comes as Mr. Putin's approval rating in Russia has shot up to almost 90%, boosted by the decisive bombing campaign of ISIS and anti-Syrian government rebels. Russia's Air Force says it has flown over 700 sorties against more than 690 targets in Syria since September 30th, a campaign to which state TV has given blanket coverage. Before the strikes, polls showed Russians were wary about the risk of Kremlin involvement in the Middle East. This looks like a picture of Vladimir Putin doing butterfly in the lake somewhere. Interesting. And him and his horse. Interesting pictures here. Having dinner with a local man. Alright.